Previously on the Radio Vagabond.
In the latest episode, we went from Lviv in the western part of Ukraine all the way to the eastern part, close to the front line. After arriving with the train to Kharkiv, we went south of the city to a small village called Kamyanka.
The front line was going through here. Like, there is not a single remained home.
We went there with a local NGO called Rescue Now to help hand out aid packages to the few locals who have returned to their totally destroyed village.
It's just like an Armageddon scenery with cars smashed because of tanks rolled over them.
And then we went to Izyum to visit a place where women are sewing camouflage nets.
Mother, father, husband, wife, child. They all died. I hope that you never feel this way. Never. That you always see your children, your relatives, always be together.
Coming up later in this episode.
In this third installment of this mini-series from my visit to Ukraine in October 2023, in the middle of a full-scale war, we meet more locals. Julia, the head of tourism in Kharkiv.
So it's now our main task to make these people to fall in love with my city, and not with ruins, not with a feeling of dangerous or something else, but with people and with the beauty of my Kharkiv.
Max, a local artist and architect, who takes us on a walking tour.
When we must find people go to this place, many people who take water and go home
because they don't have water at home.
Drinking water is in Kharkiv, it's tradition. Like,
this is very good drinking water.
Yes, yes.
And some wonderful kids in the classroom.
I'm Lesya. I'm Bogdan. My name is Lёsha. Alexei.
We also get a scare when we're in the street and the missile alarm goes off.
Guys, let's go to the shelter now.
But we'll start in Izyum,
Shelter!
where we speak to a man named Volodymyr Zelensky. My name is Palabo, and this is the Radio Vagabond. Welcome to the eastern part of Ukraine, a country in a full-scale war.
Meet Palabo. At the age of 50, he made a bold decision. He sold everything and set out on a quest to visit every country in the world. This is the Radio Vagabond Podcast.
This episode is brought to you in part by Hotels25.com. Whenever you need a hotel anywhere in the world, go to Hotels25.com. That would get you the best price. Hotels25.com searches a bunch of the biggest hotel sites in one simple search. Hotels25.com.
Izyum is a city in the Kharkiv Oblast, the Kharkiv region, of Ukraine, estimated to have a little more than 50,000 residents. It's approximately 127 kilometers, 79 miles, southeast of the second largest city in Ukraine, Kharkiv. In 2022, the Battle of Izyum was a pivotal and harrowing event in the ongoing conflict. It began when Russian forces targeted Izyum, a key city due to its strategic position near supply routes. It took a month for Russian forces to take control of the city in early April 22, marking a significant moment in the war. Izyum was occupied for 6 months, but was retaken in a major Ukrainian military success. Both battles for Izyum left many dead and much of the city in ruins. In Izyum, we met the head of a public non-profit organization called The Right Direction. His name is Volodymyr Zelensky. Yes, that is his actual name.
Main volunteer in Izyum, Volodymyr Zelensky. No, this is real name. Like really, Volodymyr, and the surname is Zelensky. Hello, nice to meet you.
You're famous.
Hello. It's okay.
Go to the Radio Vagabond and see his business card. The organization was founded in 2018, so before the invasion. The main objective back then, in peacetime, was to improve life for the youth of Izyum. After the start of the full-scale invasion, their priorities changed. They started focusing on helping civilians and local soldiers.
Починає з 20-го дня повномасштабного вторгнення наше місто
Izyum fell on the 20th day of the invasion.
До того, як Ізюм опинився в окупації, не було прикладів на нас.
It was in March 22, and nobody knew about the Bucha massacre. There was very little information, and this place was isolated. During the occupation, life in Izyum was drastically altered. The city, once bustling with life, faced severe destruction, buildings crumbled, streets were deserted, and the sense of community was fractured under the weight of war. The occupation wasn't just a military takeover, it was a period of profound hardship for the locals. Essential services were disrupted, and the fear of violence was a constant companion.
У нас був період, коли ми працювали в довоєнний час. У нас був період, коли нас стала...
The biggest priorities for them in the early days of the invasion was to help evacuation from Izyum, because the front line was moving closer and closer fast. Izyum was occupied for 6 months, and then came the liberation in September 22. Ukrainian forces launched a counter-offensive, successfully reclaiming Izyum. The victory was more than a military triumph. It symbolized hope and resilience. But liberation did not erase the scars of occupation. The city, though freed, was a shadow of its former self. Buildings lay in ruins, and the task of rebuilding lives and infrastructure loomed large.
По поверненню до нашого рідного міста, ми почали...
After the liberation, the main objective for Volodymyr and Right Direction was helping local people with reconstruction of their houses and apartments. They were helping building walls, fixing roofs, and installing new windows. With little resources, they were able to make many places acceptable for living again.
Прийшла весна, цілі задачі змінилися.
Now, the most basic needs to survive and live are covered, and they're focusing more on children and the youth of Izyum. They're organizing events and conducting educational work with young people, understanding that they will be the leaders of the local communities in the near future. Before we leave, we ask Volodymyr Zelensky what he would like us to tell the world, how we can help them.
С вами или без вас мы этот город лучше сделаем. Лучше, конечно, с вами, и мы в вас верим.
Okay, so with you or without you, we will improve this city, but obviously better with you. There are two main projects now, is creating like a stationary camp for children, for training, getting healthier, rehabilitation, education, and second is a shelter for animals. Those are basically two main projects they are focusing now, and currently they are in the process of looking for financial grants or like projects that could fund this kind of initiative. So if you have any ideas or connection, that would be like the biggest impact on this step.
The toll on human life was devastating. Civilians caught in the crossfire faced unimaginable losses. Families were torn apart, and the fabric of daily life was irreparably damaged. Stories of loss, resilience, and the struggle to survive under the occupation paint a picture of a community pushed to its limits. Despite the relief of liberation, the challenges were immense. Rebuilding the city both physically and emotionally became a priority. The resilience of the Izyum residents shone through as they began the slow process of rebuilding their lives amidst the remnants of war. The Battle of Izyum is a stark reminder of the brutal realities of conflict and the lasting impact on communities. It's a story of loss, resilience, and the unyielding spirit of a city determined to rise from the ashes of war.
This is the Radio Vagabond podcast.
After an eventful day south of Kharkiv and having witnessed the effects of the Russian attacks, we drive to check in at our hotel in the center of Kharkiv. Like I've mentioned, it's a city very close to the front line where they get missile alerts every day. But we decided to go to a bar after dinner. We knew that we had to be back at the hotel before 11 p.m. because that's when the curfew sets in. So we started walking the 1.2 kilometers at around 10:30. And then we got lost. Not only didn't we have Google Maps because we had to turn off the location settings on our phones for safety reasons, but also there were no lights in the city. No street lights, no lights from the windows. But it was eerie and weird walking through a city the size of Copenhagen at 10:30 at night and it being completely dark. Luckily, we managed to find it and walk through the doors of our hotel at 10:58 p.m., just 2 minutes before the curfew. Remember from the first episode from Ukraine, I mentioned that our hotel is just 50 meters from where a missile hit just 10 days earlier.
On the 6th of October, there was an attack 50 meters from our hotel. The rocket hit the crossroad just on the street, and the area around is badly damaged.
So the next morning, I walked around the streets and made a video for an Instagram reel.
I'm staying where a missile hit just a few weeks ago.
This is the audio from that video.
See, I'm in Kharkiv, and this is the hotel that I'm staying at. You don't see any glass in the windows, and that's because right over here was where a missile hit just a few weeks ago. And you can see that building here. It's got shrapnel up there. If you can see that, yeah. And obviously no glass in the windows. They were all blown out. And all the way up the street, you can also see where the building was damaged. Right here. And this is where I'm staying right now. I'm in Kharkiv, 40 kilometers from the front line here in Ukraine, in the eastern Ukraine, and been here since yesterday, and today we're moving on to Kiev.
If you want to see it, go to Radio Vagabond on Instagram or on TikTok. I've also posted it in the blog for this episode. It's on the radiovagabond.com. And yes, today we're moving on to Kiev. But first we're going on a walking tour of Kharkiv and meet more locals.
But before, I would like to introduce you to Yulia. Yulia is the head of the travel department of Kharkiv.
We start in an office where we met Julia Shorska, the head of tourism in Kharkiv from Kharkiv Tourist Board. And she told us that we were the first group of travelers visiting Kharkiv since early 2022.
Your job must have been very difficult the last couple of years.
Actually, yes, because of COVID, because of war, and so it's a difficult period. And actually, Oris told that I'm a head of tourism department. Tourism subdivision is a part of international cooperation department of Kharkiv City Council. So I'm responsible not just for tourism development, but also for international cooperation development, for communication with sister cities, international organizations, and so on. So it helps us very much to communicate with the world. But as for tourism, of course, it is very difficult period, and it was very difficult, not for Kharkiv, but also for other Ukrainian cities. But I think that for Kharkiv, it's now the tourism is a sphere that suffers very much. But I really think that it can be the sphere that can help Kharkiv to improve economical development and so on. So I'll do my best for that.
Yeah, but obviously right now you don't have that many tourists. We're the crazy ones coming here, but you have a lot of diplomats.
Yes, and they are also as a kind of tourists, because they are representatives of our culture as well. If they see our city beautiful and prospective and so on, they can come to their countries and to promote Ukraine, to promote Kharkiv. So it's now our main task to make these people to fall in love with my city, and not with ruins, not with a feeling of dangerous or something else, but as I told before, with people and with the beauty of my Kharkiv, with sometimes with the cuisine and so on, because we have also some specific food, some specific delicious and so on, actually, as these cookies and others. But actually, I think that the city unique with our people. Because now I want all journalists and people who come to Kharkiv to speak to people who were here from the very beginning of this awful war. Because they are so brave, And those people, they can tell such things that people can understand the bravery of Kharkiv citizens. So I want that tourists who come to Kharkiv see our Ukrainian soul, see that Kharkiv is a Ukrainian city and with brave people and so on. Of course, I absolutely sure that our cultural heritage will be interesting. For instance, our Держпром, the building on the biggest square of Ukraine, it should be in UNESCO sites, but it's just in the preliminary list. Now we are doing our best to make it a UNESCO site. And of course, business tourism. I'm sure that it will be one of the most popular and one of the most important kind of tourists for Kharkiv.
Kharkiv was the capital of the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic within the Soviet Union from 1919 to 1934, and it played a crucial role during the early days of the Ukrainian Soviet government. Over half of the residents left the city at the start of the war, but officials say that many have returned to Kharkiv, with an estimated 1.2 million people currently living there, making it the second largest city in Ukraine after the capital Kyiv.
Yeah, it is the second biggest city, and as a part of our history, we was the capital of Soviet Ukraine. So it was a period when Kharkiv was developing very fast. And now we communicate a lot with our people because one of them, they tell that we should not remember about Soviet period. But the other part of Ukrainians said, but it was our history. It was a period when Kharkiv was developing very fast, so we cannot forget it. But the problem is, and we discuss it very much, about reconstruction of ruined objects which were built during the Soviet period. So what should we do? Should we rebuild it as it was, or should we build something else? So it's also the part of our communication with people, with citizens of Kharkiv. A lot of questions, actually.
Yeah, lots of questions. And also from the other people in the group. Here's Harry Mitsides, the founder of NomadMania, with one.
You know, Ukraine is huge, and I would believe that Kharkiv, before all this, so before 2014, Kharkiv was mainly Russian-speaking. I think even for travelers, Kharkiv was like either the last or, you know, it was almost like in between Russia and Ukraine, you know, although of course it was in Ukraine. How do you think when people come here, they're going to see it differently compared to, say, 15 years ago?
For sure, because we are trying now to show that Kharkiv is Ukrainian city. Kharkiv is a part of Ukrainian culture. Kharkiv is a city with Ukrainian cultural heritage. And as I told before, even there are a lot of discussions about what kind of rebuilding should be. Should we rebuild the buildings that were ruined during this war in a style that it was during the Soviet Union, as it was built, or should we build something new? So in our mayor, he told that we are not going to rebuild Soviet buildings in the style that it was. So we are looking for new approaches, we are looking for new buildings, we are looking for new emotions not connected to Russia. Actually, if you speak to people on the streets, I'm absolutely sure that 99.9% will say that I want nothing me to connect to Russia or to Soviet Union, especially young people, because they are Ukrainian speaking. They are trying to if they don't speak Ukrainian very good, in a very good manner, people who are older, they are trying to speak Ukrainian, and sometimes, of course, it's a kind of problem for them, because people who are 60 plus or 70 plus, it's really difficult for them. But they're trying to speak in shops, between themselves and so on. For instance, I have a grandmother who used to speak Russian language, but with Ukrainian words. Now, when I ask her, would you like to speak in Russian with me? She, no. I'll do my best to speak just Ukrainian with this kind of Kharkiv words. Суржик, так. And you ask me about this ля-тю-шо, so it's kind of Kharkiv words, Kharkiv emotions. And when we speak this kind of words, everybody in Ukraine understands that we are from Kharkiv. Ля-тю-шо. So it's a kind of also specialty. So I'm really thank you so much that you asked me about that, because it's also kind of our history and kind of our specialty.
Then we met up with Max Rosenfeld, taking us on a walking tour around the streets of Kharkiv. More about that in a minute when the program continues. Stay right there.
If you've been listening for a while, you know a thing or two about Talebo. And now, he would like to know a bit about you. So please fill out the 5-minute survey and answer a few questions. It's on theradiovagabond.com/whoareyou. And now, let's get back to the show.
My name is Max. I am your guide today, but I'm not guide, I'm not historical, I'm artist and I'm architect from this city.
He's going to be our guide, even though he sees himself more as an artist and an architect.
My English very bad. I begin in only few words in English. After that, Orest, my interpreter today. Okay, Orest. Okay. It's last my English word. Звідки б ви не приїхали, звідки б ви не опинилися в Харкові, починати знайомство з містом треба тут.
Whenever you come from Kharkiv, you should start your introduction to the city here.
Навіть якщо ви як Юля харків'янка, все одно починати знайомство з містом треба з цього місця.
Even for Yulia, who is a local citizen, you still have to start here.
Yes.
This is the place of birth of the city of Kharkiv, and this city explains many events for the last 400 years in the city.
Я багато працюю з іноземними журналістами і блогерами, і для всіх потрібно спочатку все ж таки внести.
I work a lot together with foreign journalists, diplomats, and it's important to have the historical background understanding.
Харків відносно молоде місто, йому 370 років.
It's a relatively young town with an age of 370 years. Until the middle of the 19th century, it was very sparsely populated. It was called a wild fields, and this was some kind of a buffer zone between the big spheres of influence of bigger empires.
Москва, Крим, Польща.
Moscow in the north, Crimean Khanate in the south, and Poland, Lithuanian Commonwealth in the west.
І це не лише про місто Харків, це про велику територію, сотні кілометрів навколо.
This is about the entire area, not only about Kharkiv, but this kind of stretch of land, which is called Slobozhanщина. Я вже вас випереджую.
Not only Slobozhanщина, but okay. Не випереджуйте, Орест.
You're adding your own comments in the chat.
These boys know my story.
Max takes us to Saltivka, a large residential area located in the northeastern region of Kharkiv.
So the constant battle was happening here for the first 3 months. When Russians understood that they're not going to take over the city, they made a siege, like in medieval times. Taking the siege, cutting the supplies, and constantly shelling the city. Yeah, so this served as the northern wall of the city. After the first 3 months, so basically in middle of May, Ukrainians were able to push Russians a few kilometers away. I, for example, was here in June, which is 1 month after their first initial push.
Yes, Orest was here making a video when the area had just been hit. In this video, you see him walking around with a helmet and a bulletproof vest among destroyed buildings and cars.
So just imagine, guys, the events that actually were coming here. It was a lively shopping mall with some cars peacefully parked over here, and eventually the artillery attack is arriving. Probably people were running away. Some of them could be in the car. Some of them simply hide inside. And once it starts dropping, it's the pure hell. Let's come closer. So this car is completely flipped from the explosion wave, yeah? Then it looks like one of the missiles came down here. I'm not sure what happens to this car, but it's badly damaged from the explosion waves as well. And the buildings around, just take a look, like these large Soviet towers. And just for you to understand the scale, the destruction is that whenever I'm looking on a dozen different buildings, and every single of them has really tough damage. So half of the buildings are burned down, and unfortunately, as I heard in this neighborhood, Some residents still actually live, so after seeing this overview, we're gonna try to go inside to see what's happening actually there. Maybe we'll try to speak to local residents. We bring some aid to them as well. But what I want to stress out is that currently in the world, this is probably the most badly damaged neighborhood where it's still possible to access. Obviously, Mariupol, we don't know exactly what is the level of devastation, but this at least gives us the idea what could happen there.
This is from the video, and in the next clip, he's in a car racing away fast.
And there was still artillery fire here. So I remember we went inside to give the humanitarian aid to local people. Somebody spotted us, and the mortar fire was coming towards us. So we had to run out of the car. When it was stopped, we drove inside and get out of here, because it was still very, very dangerous here.
Suddenly they heard an explosion and had to flee.
Like it was, for me personally, this was the closest dangerous situation during war in Ukraine.
You can see the full video from Orest on the blog post for this episode on theradiovagabond.com. Maxon Orest leads us into a park in Saltivka.
So when Russians were pushed back a few kilometers from here,
maybe
they
20
came
of May 2022.
In May, yeah, they came here, and they were surprised. Like, where are the people?
Not military, civilian.
Where are civilian?
І дуже проста відповідь.
And the answer is pretty clear. The people, the life will follow the water source. If you have water, it's possible to live.
Зараз вже, коли більше року пройшло з того моменту, багато чого відновили, відремонтували, якось воно залатали. Тоді воно ще димилося, тоді воно ще було обгоріло.
Now many things look in the process of rebuilding, although very, very slow. But then in the early stage, even I remember, you still had this like feeling of smoke from the buildings.
It's feeling smoke. It's warm.
It was
warm,
yeah.
Really warm.
In the park next to the playground, we can see people coming with big plastic jars and filling them with water.
When we must find people go to this place, many people who take bottle of water and says.
You think these people are taking water now because they have no water at home, or the water
yes.
here is extra
No, take water and go home.
Because they don't have water at home.
It's drinking water. Somebody haven't water in the, yes, but something can what? But it's drinking. But it's in Kharkiv. It's tradition. Like
this is very good drinking water.
Yes, yes.
By the way, in regard to drinking water, I just like see there the sign. It's like attention. Please better drink water after boiling. Just in case.
But it's not only like take water and go home, because this is ручей, як це?
Stream.
Stream, small lake, park. It's like
water is life.
You feel it. Yes, you're feeling it's normal, the good life.
So the idea behind our visit here is not about death, but about the life, basically.
And we see a lot of life in Kharkiv that day, and especially on our next stop, where we go to a basement where about a dozen young children between 3 and 7 years old and a group of volunteers. With kindergartens closed, parents who try to live with a bit of normalcy need help from an NGO more than ever.
Hi, how are you? Thank you. I'm from the United States of America, and I come from California.
We gave the kids a bit of a geography lesson as we introduced ourselves, and they even had a small globe so we could show them where we're from.
Hi, kids. Hi. My name is Palle. Palle. Nobody can say Palle. I come from Legoland. I come from Denmark, but that's where Lego comes from. Do you know Lego?
So Lego з Данії зробили.
Yeah. And I travel around the world all the time, so that I don't live in Denmark.
Він подорожує по світу постійно, але там не живе.
And I go around with my microphone, speaking to people. What's your name?
I'm Olesya. I'm Bogdan.
Bogdan.
My name is Losha Alexei.
Good to meet you all.
Thank you.
The kids were wonderful, naturally curious, playful, and the visit was heartwarming. At the same time, I couldn't help thinking about children having their childhood stolen in this a war that they don't even understand. Well, none of us really understand why, to be honest. After playing and having fun with the kids for an hour, we all got beautiful drawings from them, something I will treasure and have framed when I at some point get a home and a wall to put it on.
Travel is possible at any age. Your sense of adventure is just over the horizon. So, reach out and grab it. The Radio Vagabond. Gotta keep moving.
Then it's time to leave Kharkiv, but just as we get off the bus and have to walk the around 500 meters to the train station, the air alarm goes off.
Guys, this is not a joke.
Guys, let's go to the shelter now.
Which means seek shelter now.
Shelter!
We're on the way to the train station here in Kharkiv, and as we just left the bus, the siren, the air alarm are going.
We're running as fast as we can with all our luggage to get underground at the train station, and out of the corner of my eyes, I noticed that the locals don't seem to react. It's like they don't even hear the alarm. Early in the day, I spoke with Julia about this.
Actually, to be true, we are not going to basements anymore, unfortunately, because we get used to these rocket attacks. And the main purpose also, we have a lot of situations when rockets are coming before the alarm. So it's the main problem, because we are very close to the border with Russian Federation, and we have less than 40 seconds for rockets to come from Belgorod to Kharkiv. So that's a problem. But when we have alarm all over Ukraine, we understand that there are a lot of rockets, so people are trying to go to basement. Of course, hospitals and critical infrastructure where people are in buildings, they are trying to go to the basements, as well as electricity stations, personnel, and so on.
Everybody's here?
No, Boris is behind.
It was like farewell.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect timing, huh?
Yeah, we got the scare.
So this was bye-bye from Kharkiv. Wow.
And that's all we have time for in this episode. I know that I promised you in the latest one that we would get to Kiev in this one, but there were just more to share than I expected, so we didn't have time for that. Now that we're on the train to Kiev, I can promise you that you will get that in the next one. My name is Palabo, and I gotta keep moving. See ya.
Radio Vagabond. Produced by RadioGuru.co.uk.